Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to Tiffany with Purpose, where I provide faith-based content with purpose and inspire you to do the same. I always share according to what the Lord places on my heart, and today it is a Wednesday where we talk biblical womanhood, and for the next few Wednesdays we will be studying God's hand in marriage. Okay, what does God have to say about, I've heard it mentioned about kingdom marriage, and my presentation to you guys is that there is a way to do this that is contrary to what the world has presented. There is a way to pursue romantic relationship that does not look anything like what the world has presented. Now, there are only a few marriages in the Bible that we actually see come together, and those are the ones that we are going to look to understand this idea of kingdom marriage, which to my understanding just means that God has chosen and appointed a particular person for you, but it is for the purpose of his kingdom. He has assigned you guys to do something that will advance his kingdom. Your marriage will affect generations to come. There's evidence for that, and we're going to see that today. So if you followed last week, you watched last week's teaching on Adam and Eve, then you know that you were supposed to read Genesis chapters 21 through 25. I think I said 22 through 25 in the video, but in the description box I wrote 21 and 25. So if you didn't read that, I want you to pause this right now, because I want you to read the word for yourself. I don't want you to go off of anything that I'm saying. I want you to be familiar with the passage. Nothing that I'm saying should be completely brand new to you. So pause this, go ahead and read, and come right back. Are you done? Okay, let's go. Actually, this time we are going to read the whole thing. And as we are going through, well, we're going to read specifically the marriage promise part and then go back and see what was happening before. So with that, we are going to start in chapter 24, or we're going to put our main focus on chapter 24. And what we want to be seeing here, for the purpose of what we're doing, we want to understand God's hand in marriage. How is it that God is putting this together? Where do we see that evidence? All right, so chapter 24 of Genesis, it says, "Now Abraham was old, advanced in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in every way. And Abraham said to his servant, the oldest of his household, who had charge of all that he owned, 'Please place your hand under my thigh, and I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I live, but you will go to my country and to my relatives and take a wife for my son Isaac.' The servant said to him, 'Suppose the woman is not willing to follow me to this land. Should I take your son back to the land from where you came?' Then Abraham said to him, 'Beware that you do not take my son back there.'" He's dead serious. It's got an exclamation point. "Don't take my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my birth, who spoke to me and who swore to me, saying, 'To your descendants I will give this land,' he will send his angel before you, and you will take a wife for my son from there. But if the woman is not willing to follow you, then you will be free from this my oath. Only do not take my son back there." He's saying that again. Okay, so the servant placed his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. We already know that God has a hand in this thing, because Abraham has said, "The God who I know, the God who spoke to me," he's saying in verse 7, "He will send his angel before you, and you will take a wife for my son from there." God is going before you to handle this thing. You want to know who's not? First of all, let's just address who's not involved. Isaac is not involved. Rebekah is not involved. Abraham has looked and saw that it was fit for his son to have a wife, just like it was when God looked at Adam and said, "It is not good for man to be alone. Let's handle that." And he's sending his servant with the spirit of the Lord ahead of him to go and handle this situation. He trusts that God knows who it is that needs to be brought forth. Verse 10, "Then the servant took 10 camels from the camels of his master and set out with a variety of good things of his master's in his hands. And he arose and went to Mesopotamia, the city of Nahor. He made the camels kneel down outside the city by the well of water at evening time, the time when women go out to draw water. He said, 'O Lord, the God of my master Abraham, please grant me success today and show loving kindness to my master Abraham. Behold, I am standing by the spring, and the daughters of men of the city are coming out to draw water. Now may it be the girl to whom I say, Please let down your jar so that I may drink, and who answers, drink, and I will water your camels also. May she be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Isaac. And by this I will know that you have shown loving kindness to my master. He is seeking the Lord. He's not going and just finding any old body. And first of all, he's going where all of the options are. First of all, he's at the well of water. All the women, this is the time that the women are coming to get water. He's seeing everybody. But he said, let it be the one that you have appointed for your servant Isaac, the one that you have chosen, that she will respond in this certain way. And by this, I will know that you have shown loving kindness to my master. He already knows that he has shown loving kindness to his master. He's been a witness of the loving kindness of God with Abraham all this time. He's the oldest servant of Abraham, so he is the one that is most familiar. It says that he's in charge of all of Abraham's household. You better know that this particular man knows the Lord. He has been the primary witness of what has been going on with Abraham in his journey with the Lord. So he knows that all things come from him, and he is trusting the Lord to guide him in identifying God's choice, not to guide him in his decision making, but to guide him in coming into agreement with God's choice. Hear that. The next section before verse 15, and by the way, I'm reading from the NASB version. This is the version that has the closest transliteration of the Hebrew language in the Greek language, what it actually says in English. So this section is titled, Rebekah is chosen. Who chose her? Not Isaac, not Abraham, not Rebekah. She didn't choose herself, but the Lord has done it. Before he had finished speaking, he's still in the middle of this prayer, because the Lord knows what you're going to ask before you even say it, okay? Oh my gosh, come on. Before he had finished speaking, behold, Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor, came out with her jar on her shoulder. The girl was very beautiful, a virgin, and no man had relations with her. And she went down to the spring and filled her jar and came up. Then the servant ran to meet her and said, please let me drink a little water from your jar. She said, drink, my lord. And she quickly lowered her jar to her hand and gave him a drink. Now, when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, I will draw also for your camels until they have finished drinking. So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran back to the well to draw, and she drew for all his camels. Meanwhile, the man was gazing at her in silence to know whether the Lord had made his journey successful or not. This man is not only speaking to the Lord, but he is watching and waiting for the Lord to respond to what he is asking the Lord for. He is familiar again with the voice of the Lord, and he knows exactly what he's looking for. I want to point out that before he had finished speaking, Rebekah appeared. And his response when she appeared, he didn't wait for her to walk up. He ran to her. It says 17, then the servant ran to meet her. He believed in his heart that that was his answer, and he was in awe. The whole time he's in awe, he's like, no way, no way, no way, no way. So he asks the specific thing that he knew what to search for from his heart, and she responded in that particular way. Meanwhile, the man is gazing at her. He is in awe and silence to know whether the Lord had made his journey successful or not. There's only one thing that he would need to know. The instruction that he was given to Abraham, go back and choose a bride from my family. Go back to my family land and choose this bride. So the next part, verse 22, when the camels had finished drinking, the man took a gold ring weighing half a shekel and 2 bracelets for her wrist, weighing 10 shekels in gold, and said, whose daughter are you? Please tell, is there room for us to lodge in your father's house? She said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor. Again she said to him, we have plenty of both straw and feed and room to lodge. Then the man bowed low and worshiped the Lord, because that was the other confirmation that he needed. He knows that Nahor is the relative of Abraham, and he is with the Lord, okay? He recognizes the presence of the Lord. He bows down, worships the Lord in this moment, because he realizes that his sovereign hand is over this situation. And he said, blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his loving kindness and his truth toward my master. As for me, the Lord has guided me in the way to the house of my master's brother. Look what the Lord has done. Then the girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban, and Laban ran outside to meet the man at the spring. When he saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrist, and when he heard the words of Rebekah, his sister, saying, this is what the man said to me, He went to the man, and behold, he was standing by the camels at the spring. And he said, "Come in, blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside, since I have prepared a house and a place for the camels? Come in, blessed of the Lord." He recognizes that this man is from the Lord. So the man entered the house. Then Laban unloaded the camels and gave straw to feed the camels and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. But when food was set before him to eat, he said, "I will not eat until I have told my business." Okay? And then he recounts the entire thing that we have just read. But let me tell you the importance of why this is said twice. Because the first time we watched it happen, the second time we are witnessing him testify of what the Lord has done. So verse 34, so he said, "I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has greatly blessed my master so that he has become rich, and he has given him flocks and herds and silver and gold and servants and maids and camels and donkeys. Now Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master in her old age, and he has given him all that he has. My master made me swear, saying, you shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites in whose land I live, but you shall go to my father's house and to my relatives and take a wife for my son. I said to my master, suppose the woman does not follow me. He said, the Lord before whom I have walked will send his angel with you to make the journey successful, and you will take a wife for my son from my relatives and from my father's house. Then you will be free of my oath when you come to my relatives, and if they do not give her to you, you will be free of my oath. So I came today to the spring and said, O Lord, the God of my master Abraham, if you will make my journey on which I go successful, behold, I am standing by the spring, and may it be that the maiden who comes out to draw, and to whom I say, please let me drink a little water from your jar, and she will say to me, you drink, and I will draw for your camels also. Let her be the woman whom the Lord has appointed for my master's son. Behold, before I had finished speaking in my heart, behold, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder and went down to the spring and drew. And I said to her, please let me drink. And she quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, drink, and I will water your camels also. So I drank, and she watered the camels also. Then I asked her and said, whose daughter are you? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. And I put the ring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrists. And I bowed low and worshiped the Lord and blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has guided me in the right way to take the daughter of my master's kinsman for his son. So now if you are going to deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me. And if not, let me know that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. He's like, look, this is all cute, but I'm here on business, and I'm here about my master's business, and I'm here about the Lord's business, okay? I don't got time for all that other stuff. Then Laban and Bethuel replied, the matter comes from the Lord, so we cannot speak to you good or bad. They're saying we don't have anything to say about it. It's very clear that the Lord has his hands on it. So my opinion about it doesn't matter. We don't have nothing to say about it, good or bad. The matter comes from the Lord. Here is Rebekah before you. Take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has spoken. Here are two people that have yielded to the sovereignty of the Lord. The people that are in charge of this house, by the way, Bethuel, her father, and Laban, which I assume because of the communication here has to be like the oldest son, perhaps. He has a say in whether or not Rebekah is being married off. So there are people, all right, that are very clear that this is the Lord's thing, and they're just yielding to that. But then you're going to have people that are going to put their 2 cents in and try to affect this thing. But the Lord's will is sovereign. When Abram's servant heard their words, he bowed himself to the ground before the Lord. He is in such a state. He's just in the presence of the Lord. The angel of the Lord was sent before him. For him to have all of these moments of just like, he's in the presence of the Lord. He bowed himself to the ground again before the Lord. The servant brought out the articles of silver and of gold and garments and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and to her mother. Then he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night. When they arose in the morning, he said, send me away to my master. But her brother and her mother said, let the girl stay with us a few days, say 10. Afterwards, she may go. And he said to them, do not delay me, since the Lord has prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. And they said, we will call the girl and consult her wishes. Let's see what she said. Then they called Rebekah and said to her, will you go with this man? And she said, I will go. Rebekah also recognizes that this is the hand of the Lord, and everybody is just yielding to the hand of the Lord. Thus they sent away their sister Rebekah and her nurse with Abraham's servant and his men. They blessed Rebekah and said to her, may you, our sister, become thousands of 10,000s, and may your descendants possess the gates of those who hate them. This promise, this thing, they recognize that the Lord's hand is on it. Therefore, they are prophesying in agreement with this thing, but they are prophesying a generational thing. They are aware of that. Then Rebekah arose with her maids, and they mounted the camels and followed the man. So the servant took Rebekah and departed. 62. Now Isaac came from going to Beer Laharoi. I hope I said that right, because I don't know. For he was living in the Negev. And this is important. Beer Lahai Roy is the well where Hagar, Abraham's baby mama, Ishmael's mom, this is where she met the Lord. This is where Sarah sent her away because she was jealous when she was pregnant with Ishmael. And she sent her away. This is in chapter 16. Hagar had run away, and this is where the angel of the Lord came to her. And this is where this well, this particular well, was named. The well of him that lives and sees me is what that means. And so what that tells us about Isaac had come from going to the place where he knows that he can be seen and heard from the Lord. He's coming from a place where he was spending time with the Lord. Isaac went out to meditate in the field toward evening. He had just come from spending time in the Lord, and now he's going to meditate in the field to spend more time with the Lord. And he lifted up his high eyes and looked, and behold, camels were come. He's spending time with the Lord, and he looks, and behold, this thing is here. The Lord has made this apparent to him, and it is his wife, okay? Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from the camel. She said to the servant, who is that man walking in the field to meet us? And the servant said, he is my master. Then she took her veil and covered herself. The servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. All right, he witnesses again that this is of the Lord. Then Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and he took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Thus Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Okay, it seems as though this again is a time where for Isaac, it's not good that he should be alone. We see that in this last line. Thus Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. It's his father who looked and saw this thing. Also, we know that maybe Isaac did need this comfort. He's coming from going to the well to meet the Lord, to get into that place where he knows the Lord, hears and sees him. The well is named for that. And then even after that, he's going to meditate in the field. He's soaking in that time with the Lord. And Rebekah on her end is recognizing the hand of the Lord, and she is yielding to that. No, I'm going to go now. Even though her own mother tried to say, maybe you want to stay 10. No, I'm going to go. She recognizes that this is of the Lord. Now, I want to point out a couple of things because it seems like this started when Abraham decided something, but I want to show you where this marriage promise was revealed in the first place, when it was first revealed, because I have to believe that the Lord already had it planned before he even birthed Isaac at the appointed time and Rebekah at the appointed time for them to come together at the time that they came together. But where this first comes up, or where it's first revealed that God has a plan for this marriage, is back in chapter 22. In chapter 22, this is where Abraham is about to offer Isaac up because the Lord told him to, and he was like, hey, whatever you say, Lord, whatever you say. And we are going to skip down. Verse 10, where Abraham stretched out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. 11, but the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here I am. He said, do not stretch out your hand against the lad and do nothing to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. Then Abraham raised his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the place of his son. Abraham called the name of that place, the Lord will provide. As it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it will be provided. 15, then the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, by myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, because you have done this thing and have not withheld your son, your only son. Indeed, I will greatly bless you, and I will greatly multiply your seed as the stars of heaven and as the sand which is on the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gate of their enemies. This is another way that we identify that Rebekah was the one chosen of the Lord, because this is what the Lord said to Abraham time before. Indeed, I will greatly bless you, and I will greatly multiply your seeds as the stars of heavens and as the sand which is on the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gate of their enemies. That specific thing is the very specific thing that Rebekah's brother prophesied over her. In your seed, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned to his young men, and they arose and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham lived at Beersheba. This is where it's good. Why does got to be in here? For this reason. Verse 20. Now it came about after these things that it was told to Abraham, saying, behold, Milcah also has borne children to your brother Nahor, Uz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, and Chesed, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. These 8 Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother. His concubine, whose name was Reumah, also bore Teba, and Gaham, and Tahash, and Maachah. After Abraham has done the utmost, he was ready and willing to give up his son. Then the Lord confirmed again the promise to him. And after the Lord confirmed again, this is indeed what I'm doing for you, the Lord sets the promise in motion for Isaac. Obviously, but when the Lord says, I will greatly bless you, and I will multiply your seeds as the stars of heaven, as the sand which is on the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gate of their enemies, Abraham has to know that many people are not coming from him directly. It is a blessing for generations. And now the Lord is setting in motion how he's passing this blessing down to Isaac in this moment. Otherwise, why is it necessary to write that after these particular things have happened, that it is brought to Abraham's attention that his brother has borne children? And then Abraham would later, as led by the Lord, I have to assume that because he's been led by the Lord his entire life, but as led by the Lord, he's saying, go back to the land of my relatives to find this bride. Rebekah's name is specifically mentioned. Everybody else, those are sons. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah, so that we could identify what the Lord was doing here. And so we see all of these things tied together. The Lord's hand was in this the entire time. From the beginning, he had a plan for this marriage. We also see again, Rebekah was a virgin and had had no man. That means she wasn't out here testing the waters. The Lord came to her at her appointed time. She yielded to that. And when it was time to go, she went. Isaac was soaking in the presence of the Lord. He wasn't out searching for a wife. He was searching for the Lord. He had just left the well where he knew he would find the presence of the Lord, and he left there and went to meditate in the field, again alone, getting in that secret place in the presence of the Lord. And when it was time, he looked, and behold, it was there. He looked up, and the Lord was presenting his wife. Now, I'm only pointing out the things that are literally here. What I said is the common theme between all of these marriages that we are going to look at is that people were seeking the Lord. People were yielding to the voice of the Lord. People were recognizing God's sovereignty in their lives, and they were coming into agreement with his plans for their lives. We understand relationships by what the world has presented to us about relationships. There's so much information about it. If we want to say that there's anything that has a stronghold on life, it's getting married to someone. It's the messiest thing that we are all involved in. There's no clear cut route to it according to what man has going on, right? Everybody has their opinion on how dating should go. Everybody has their opinion on what they should be looking for and all of that stuff. But there's a way that is right to the world, and there's a way that is right to the Lord. And what God's word shows is that he has a hand in marriage. And if he has revealed to you who your person is, he's letting you know he has a choice for your marriage. And I want you to know that if that is your situation, it is because it will affect generations. So the only thing you need to do is hearken to the voice of the Lord. You don't have to go out and search. Talk to the Lord. Father, I believe that you have someone chosen for me, and I desire what your desires are for my life. So I yield to that. Show me what it is that you need me to do at this time. You don't even need to ask him who the person is. Lord, who is it that you created me to be? Who is it that you need me to be to you? Allow him to prepare you and trust that at the appointed time, these things will come to pass. God's hand is on things, and he has an appointed time for all things. And the only thing that we need to do is delight ourselves in the Lord so that we can be on his timeline and not trap ourselves in longing, trap ourselves in trying to rush things that we do not understand because of our desires that really have come from what we have witnessed around us. We saw things and we looked at them and we decided that that's what we wanted for ourselves, and we tried to make it make sense for us. Just yield. Lord, what do you have planned? Obviously, whatever I have going on is not really working out. So what is it that you desire? I'm looking for a scripture for us to hold on to as we are going through this. 1 Corinthians 7:32 through 35. But I want you to be free from concern. One who is unmarried is concerned about the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But one who is married is concerned about the things of the world, how he may please his wife, and his interests are divided. The woman who is unmarried and the virgin is concerned about the things of the Lord, that she may be both holy in body and spirit. But one who is married is concerned about the things of the world, how she may please her husband. This I say for your own benefit. Do not put a restraint upon you, but to promote what is appropriate and to secure undistracted devotion to the Lord. I'm here to tell you, absolutely yes. God does have a plan for your marriage. The world has taught us differently, but if you desire to do things God's way, then accept that he has a plan for you in that area. But the only thing you need to do in the meantime is secure undistracted devotion to the Lord. Allow him to download your identity. Allow him to download your purpose. And as you are with him, you will be in the right place at the right time. Rebekah was in the right place at the right time to encounter Abraham's servant at the right place at the right time, so much so that at the exact time he was lifting up a prayer that he would be able to know God's choice. She was walking up. She was already en route. Okay? Give your undivided devotion to the Lord, and he will make all things happen in the appointed time that he has chosen it for your life. All right? I hope that you guys found this edifying, that it just, did a little something to you, that you took it in, that it was good, it was juicy, it was meaty, and that you can walk away and you've learned something. You can walk away and you can release some things. If you've been idolizing marriage, if it's the first thing on your mind, if you are always wondering, where is my Boaz? Where is my man? Ask Jesus, where are you? Start asking that. Start asking that. All right. The next book we are going to, or the next marriage we're going to look at is Ruth and Boaz. So for next Wednesday, you guys go ahead and read the entire book of Ruth. As you're reading it again, Pay attention to God's sovereignty. See where you see God's hand moving in the lives of the people. See where you can identify God's spirit reflected in the people. See how you can, what you can learn about our relationship with the Lord, and consider God's hand in marriage in this situation. What do we know about the generations that were to come from Ruth and Boaz in particular? Think about those things as you're reading. All right, I'll see you guys next Wednesday for another Bible study on God's hand in marriage. You guys be great in the strength of the Lord. Until next time.